There's a peculiar irony in the way we speak about love today. We often imagine it as something sudden, something explosive, a spark, a moment when two strangers lock eyes across a crowded room and instantly know that they are meant for one another. Cinema has reinforced this idea for decades. Love is portrayed as passion, obsession, butterflies, longing, and sacrifice. The louder the emotion, the greater the love appears to be. Yet Charles Dickens, writing nearly 2 centuries ago, quietly proposed something entirely different. He suggested that the greatest love stories are not the ones that begin with fireworks. They are the ones that begin with friendship. They grow silently, patiently, almost invisibly, and by the time we recognize them, they have already transformed our lives. This idea lies at the very heart of David Copperfield. For many readers, remember the novel for David's childhood difficulties, his cruel stepfather, or his rise from poverty to literary success. Others remember Dora Spenlow, the charming young woman whom David loves with almost childlike devotion. But I believe the true love story for the novel has never been David and Dora. It has always been David and Agnes Wickfield. And Dickens deliberately contrasts this quiet, enduring relationship with another love story unfolding along its side, the tragic relationship between James Steerforth and Emily. At the first glance, the two relationships appear completely unrelated, but the more closely we examine them, the more obvious Dickens's intention becomes. One relationship is built upon admiration, the other upon understanding. One begins with a desire, the other begins with a friendship. One destroys lives, the other heals them. Together they answer one of the oldest questions humanity has ever asked. What is love? You might wonder why Dickens gave us two love stories. Well, one of the Dickens' greatest strengths as a novelist is that he rarely teaches through direct explanation. Instead, he allows his characters to become living arguments. Rather than telling us what love should look like, he presents two contrasting stories and invites us to compare them. On one side stands James Steerforth, handsome, charismatic, confident, effortlessly admired by almost everyone around him. He possesses all the qualities society tends to glorify. People naturally gravitate towards him. David himself particularly worships him. Steerforth enters every room with the confidence of someone who has never been denied anything. And then there is Emily, a simple young woman from a humble fishing background. Beautiful, dreamful, restless. She longs for something greater than the life into which she was born. She dreams of refinement, elegance, a better future. Steerforth notices these dreams and uses them against her. On the opposite of the novel stands Agnes Wickfield. She possesses none of Steerforth's dazzling charisma. She does not command attention. She does not seek admiration. She never attempts to impress anyone. Instead, Agnes remains remarkably quiet, patient, compassionate. She became something much more difficult to notice, someone who is always there. And perhaps that is precisely why David cannot recognize her love for so many years. Because human beings often mistaken intensity for depth. We confuse excitement with permanence. We believe love must overwhelm us. Dickens gently asks, what if real love feels ordinary? What if it is not the loudest emotion, but the quietest presence? One of the most fascinating aspects of David Copperfield is that David himself misunderstands love, and this misunderstanding lasts for years. When readers first encounter Agnes, she appears most angelic. She supports David through nearly every important stage of his life. She encourages him, confronts him, corrects him without humiliating him, believes in him when he doubts himself. She never competes for his attention, never manipulates him, never asks for anything in return. Yet, David barely notices. Not because Agnes lacks beauty, nor because she lacks intelligence, but because David is emotionally immature. Like many young people, David believes love must be exciting, unexpected, dramatic. He mistakes emotional intensity for emotional depth. This explains why he falls in love with Dora Spenlow. Dora is charming, playful, beautiful. She makes love feel alive. Their relationship resembles youthful infatuation more than mature companionship. Dickens himself later describes Dora as a child wife. She is affectionate but incapable of sharing David's emotional burdens. David loves Dora sincerely, but he loves an idealized version of her. He projects onto her everything he imagines marriage should be. Reality eventually catches up. Marriage proves more difficult than romance. Responsibilities replaces fantasies. And David slowly realizes that affection alone cannot sustain a lifelong partnership. Love requires something more, something Dora was never prepared to give. This realization becomes one of David's greatest emotional lessons. Ironically, Agnes has possessed those qualities all along. Agnes is often criticized by modern readers. Some call her unrealistic, others describe her as too perfect, too passive, too saintly. But I believe these criticisms misunderstand Dickens's purpose. Agnes is not meant to represent an ordinary woman. She represents something symbolic. She is David's most moral compass. Whenever David loses himself, whether through ambition, grief, vanity, or despair, Agnes quietly brings him back. Notice how Dickens repeatedly associates Agnes with images of light. She illuminates rooms, she comforts people, she provides calm amidst chaos. She never dominates the narrative. Yet somehow, every important character gravitates towards her wisdom. Unlike Steerforth, Agnes never speaks power over others. Unlike Dora, she never remains emotionally dependent. Unlike Uriah Heep, she never manipulates. She loves patiently, without expectations, without possession, without demanding recognition. Perhaps this is Dickens's boldest claim. Real love does not speak to process, it speaks to nurture. And because Agnes understands this, her love survives time itself, while other relationships collapse under pressure. Hers quietly grows stronger. David simply isn't wise enough to see it yet, and that blindness will eventually shape not only his own future, but also provide the perfect contrast to another story unfolding elsewhere in the novel. The tragic story of James Steerforth and Emily. In that relationship, Dickens explores what happens when love is confused with admiration, desire, and escape. Unlike David and Agnes, its ending is nothing short of devastating. In part 2, we will dive deeply into James Steerforth and Emily, their psychology, the class divide, why Emily falls for him, why Steerforth never truly loves her, and how Dickens uses this tragedy as a warning about confusing passion for genuine love. If you love watching such videos and if you want me to make such more videos, then please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, comment what do you think about this. Until we'll meet next time. Until then, peace out. Thank you. Bye.